Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Hello there. Welcome in to another Duly Noted Podcast, of course, brought to you by the Great Titan MRI from the Shackow and Mercandone Studios. We got a lot to talk about, Florida, Kentucky-wise. We got a great guest today, Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Love the guy. He's a good friend of mine, and we'll talk about a lot of college football because it is a huge weekend for college football. I mean, it's big. So we'll talk about that. We have got to get to all of our other things. It's funny what happened with the Leonardos and Millhopper quick picks, how I gave it to the Jaguars versus Bengals. So everybody took the Bengals. And at halftime, I'm like, nobody's going to qualify. And now everybody qualified. There's a lot of people who got into. They saw a sure thing, I think, which it wasn't, but it was an interesting game. So we got a lot to talk about and a lot of things to deal with in terms of things that are going on in the world of college sports and in the world of pro sports. So we'll get to all that. Handlaw, three things, of course, coming up. Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week. Hesser and Kipke games of the week. And we'll do the spreads, and as I said, Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. And heard from Charlie Cohen, who won the last ones, or Cowan, one way or the other. Anyway, and I got to get him the prize package. So he's lucky. 1, 2 in a row. We'll see who wins this week. Or not this week, but this segment. Probably go another 3. We usually go 3-week segments. All right, anyway. It's a lot of jibber jabber about nothing. All right, so big game Saturday. It is a big game. And, I've said this numerous times. This is about October is the month where Florida has to be great. And the Alabama game was fun and great, and the crowd was great, and Florida looked really good, and they played really hard, and they almost beat Alabama and everything. But in the end, it didn't matter. The game doesn't matter. It's how they do in this month that's going to matter. Now, the Alabama loss gives you a less room for error, obviously, but really, you didn't have that much room for error. It's all going to come down to Florida, Georgia, and what you've got to do is find a way to get to that game and have it matter and have it be important. You don't want to get to that. Now, again, we will see what happens this weekend with some of these other games, but it's going to be interesting to see this Florida football team on the road, and Emory Jones' first road start of his career, because you can't count that USF game. It'll be interesting to see all the things that Kentucky does well, whether Florida's able to take them away, all the things that Florida does well, whether Kentucky's able to take them away. The big stat is that Kentucky is only giving up, I think it's 87.5 yards per game rushing. And, of course, Florida is third in the nation in rushing, which is amazing to go from first in the nation to passing to third in the nation in rushing. Air Force and Army are the only teams ahead of them. They may stay up ahead of them. It would be some if they went 2 years in a row leading the nation in a statistical category that couldn't be more apart. But I've just got this feeling, and it scares me a little bit. And I've talked about this with you guys, that Florida may be on the verge of it really getting good. I'm talking about just this season, okay? I'm not talking about where they are as a program, I think they are in a great place as a program. They're not in the best place. Alabama's in the best place. Georgia right now is in a better place than Florida, but not that much better. If Florida can beat Georgia and wins these other games, Florida will be permanently ahead, not permanently, but cemented ahead of Georgia if Florida wins the East. So, but right now, I think everybody knows how good Georgia is. But I'm talking about this year's team. And if this does happen, if they are able to take off and be this juggernaut that I think they can be, it's going to be fun. It's going to be like the old days. Now, it doesn't mean it will happen. You know me, I can be wrong. But I just look at, okay, Emery now feels more comfortable. Anthony's going to be back, and he's going to be, hopefully he's going to be 100% in terms of doing the Anthony things that he was doing before. You know, you never know when a guy takes a couple of weeks off, but he was still doing backflips, so didn't take him completely off. And if they can work this correctly, and who would you rather have working a situation like this than Dan Mullen? You know, if they can work this correctly, this offense could get even, like I've said all along, and I'm still on my predicted score was 31-24 Florida. I've said all along that Florida doesn't feel like a team that's going to get in the 40s a lot. Maybe not at all. Maybe against Samford. Maybe against FSU. But they don't feel like that team. They feel like a team that's going to try to win games in the low 30s. Just because offensively they're going to hold on to the ball longer. They're going to have longer drives, sustained drives, things like that. And as a result, you know, just kind of eat up some clock. And this is what we talked about in the preseason, how this Florida team was going to be so different. We knew it was going to be different. They weren't going to have Trask. They weren't going to have Pitts. They weren't going to have Tony. They weren't going to have Grimes. You know, that they were going to be a different team, but that they would probably get fewer possessions, fewer plays. You know, and that's what they've been able to still do some things because, you know, play-wise, because when you got a quarterback running 75 yards for a touchdown, that's one play. So, but I do think the point I'm trying to make, long-winded way, is I think this team has a chance to really be good. Now, before the season, I told everybody I liked their roster. I thought it was the best roster they've had since 2009, which was the last year of Tebow. Best roster they've had since that year. That team went undefeated in the regular season and, of course, lost to Alabama and then destroyed Cincinnati in the Sugar Bowl, so 13-1. That was a pretty good team. That was, I think, the best roster they've had. And this is the next best roster since then. Because I like the way they can go 1 through 85 or 88. I think it's actually with scholarship players because of the COVID situation and everything. And I think they may be on the verge of pointing that out to everybody else, what I saw there. And again, I'm not watching practice. They don't allow me to do that. But I can watch games and I can watch old games and watch guys progress and just kind of keep an eye on how things are going. I see these guys every day. I'm walking. They're walking across, and it really. The more I think about it, the dumber it feels that Florida for football practice has to walk up these 3 flights of stairs from their locker room, walk all the way across, walk across by the museum, walk across the Abbey Road crossing there at Florida, and then all the way down by the O'Connell Center, finally to get to their practice facility. Now, that's obviously going to change next year. But it does seem kind of weird that they have to do that. But I see them every day. I see all those guys out there, and they look pretty good. This is a good tidbit for you. They have Florida has and Kentucky have played as ranked teams in the AP poll 3 times in the history of the poll. 3 times. Think about that. Because I saw Peter Burns had said something about maybe this was the biggest home game in 35 years for Kentucky. The biggest one was 07. 07 was that was a great crowd. Everybody was excited. I think Kentucky was 8. They had just beaten LSU in triple overtime. Florida was like 15. That was the biggest one. But here we are again. Kentucky is not ranked. I think they should be, but they're not ranked. So we'll see. Well, there's a lot of big games this weekend. We'll talk about those as well. It's kind of what I call, like, it's not. It may be a statement Saturday where the statements are made by the teams that have been good all along, and the other teams that say we're going to make our statement, and they go, "Here's your statement. You're not ready for this," because that's what it feels like. Whether it's Arkansas, whether it's Ole Miss, whether it's Cincinnati, you can look at all these games and kind of come away with that. I did want to talk about briefly, and we're going to bring on Dennis Dodd here in just a minute. The whole thing with Cam Newbauer, I just was watching ESPN. Certainly, it's not a good look for Florida. If you watch this podcast, the day it happened, I was telling you a lot of the stuff that's now coming out, but I don't really have a platform. These are my platforms. I wasn't going to write about it for their newspaper doesn't want me anymore. They still probably want me. So we knew that this stuff had happened, and it's a shame, and it's a bad look for Florida. It's a bad look for not taking care of their student athletes and not taking care of their women's student athletes especially. And hopefully this thing will pass, and they'll bring in a new coach. Of course, poor Kelly Rae Finley, is going to try to win with no fans and knowing that this is probably a one-year deal. But I wrote about her actually for the alumni magazine. So anyway, so we got a ton to talk about. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and bring on Dennis Dodd. We'll take a break after Dennis, okay? Because from CBS Sports, one of my favorite guys in the world. All right. Are you there, Dennis?
I am here. How are you, Pat? I see you. It's a great background. Are you not hearing him?
Okay, wait. There we are. Now
Got
I can
me?
hear you. Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's going on, brother?
Man, great background. I hope that's just water in that glass.
It is. I wish it wasn't. Literally, I think I could drink vodka on set and I'd be all right. I got no bosses. I am my own boss.
I love it.
How you been? Are you
Good.
going to football games?
Oh, yeah. I went to Georgia Clemson. I went to Oregon, Ohio State, and I'm going to Oklahoma, Kansas State tomorrow.
Well, I'll get to the Florida-Kentucky game, but I did want to ask you about what I talked about. Is that I'm curious whether it's going to be a statement Saturday, and these teams are going to kind of come up and say, "Hey, it's not like it's been," or it's like Alabama's to say, "Calm down, everybody. We're still going to be in the playoffs." Georgia's going to say, well, "Of course, we're going to be in the playoffs. Don't think you're going to be that great, Arkansas." So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. I think it's going to be really interesting, though.
I think Cincinnati's going to beat Notre Dame, and I think for the
everybody's
first time,
picking that. Why do you think that? And they're favored to win in the game.
Yeah, the matchup is not good. I think Cincinnati's really good. Desmond Ritter's one of the best quarterbacks people don't talk about. They're really solid on defense, and I still have significant questions about Notre Dame's offensive line. They gave up 8 sacks last week, something like that, 6 or 8 sacks. I can't remember. They have not done well. They were losing in the fourth quarter until the dam broke against Graham Mertz in Wisconsin. And I just think it's Cincinnati's time. They're going to win. They're going to force us to have a meaningful conversation about a group of 5 team being in the playoff for the first time. Really. I mean, we had it in 14 and 15 when Houston beat Florida State to end the season, I think, and then beat Oklahoma to begin in 15, but then ended up 9-4. This is something better. They're, by the way, Notre Dame's schedule after this is poo-poo. They go at Virginia Tech, at Virginia, at Stanford. That's their 3 road games. So if we're gonna downgrade Cincinnati's schedule, they've got the schedule. This is the best schedule maybe of any challenger there's been. I know that none of them had gone on the road in consecutive games against Power 5 teams and won, which would be the case if you want to call Notre Dame a Power 5 team, and I do.
Yeah.
That's never happened. So that's what will get people's attention, beating a top 10 at home. And I think they've crawled into the public consciousness, and I would hope into the selection committee's consciousness.
Well, and it's going to be interesting because if you're a Cincinnati fan, you want to win this game and you want BYU somewhere to lose because that's the one team with those 3 Pac-12 wins that they have. You can make an argument if they go undefeated as well.
Yeah, I don't think BYU, frankly, even gets close because it's the Pac-12, and again, because there's nothing BYU can do that matches what Cincinnati would have done. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati plays in the best group of 5 conference. That they've been to, again, this is institutional, I guess, knowledge and tradition that has to be built up. Again, those selection committee members, they've been to a couple of New Year's Six bowls. They've been to 3 since 2009. There's been a direct line in excellence from Mark D'Antonio to Brian Kelly to Butch Jones to Luke Fickell. Even Tommy Tuberville won 9 games before his effort just kind of petered out. And now Luke Fickell. So Cincinnati's a major player on the scene, I think, right now.
Luke Fickell, interesting because the year that he had at Ohio State when he was interim coach, all the guys there were saying they'd never seen a bigger deer in the headlights situation. Yeah. I interviewed him. Actually, we ran into him at Sawgrass for the bowl game that Florida was playing against them. And even then, he was like looking over his shoulder like, what's going on? And you were thinking, I don't know if this guy will ever be a good head coach. And then he turns out to be one of the best head coaches in the country.
Yeah, I had him for quite a bit of time in May at the Fiesta Summit in Phoenix. And he was great. I mean, he was totally offering up stuff. We weren't talking about making the playoff or anything like that. I think it was, angle story related stuff. But totally at ease with himself. And I would urge everyone, it's a really good story in the LA Times today about him and what he is and his candidacy for the USC job, which, obviously a lot of people think he's right there. And he's paid every due you can name. That you're right, that 6 and 7 season where he was forced into things after what happened to, was that Tressel or was that Urban Meyer? I can't remember.
That was Tressel, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what Urban.
That was Tressel. Yeah, and Urban kept him. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was Tressel lying to the. By the way, St. Jimmy talk needs to go away. We can talk about what those Ohio State players did, being allowable in today's climate. Absolutely, tattoos, all that stuff, and NIL. But what scuttled the whole thing? Not that. It was Jim Tressel covering up and lying to the NCAA. Exactly. He got married. He got fired in a heartbeat by his AD when that came about. They would have endured a game suspension or something like that. Instead, so let's not shed any tears for Jim Tressel. He destroyed his career and significantly altered the course of Ohio State. So, but to get back to Luke Fickell, yeah, he was the interim coach. They went 6 and 7, did not enhance his resume, but was a native son, all this stuff, state champion wrestler, great defensive coach, and Urban Meyer kept him because I think he sensed that here's a guy that is just going to recruit and coach and is not after the job. And he was absolutely right. And then went on and built Cincinnati.
That USC job is going to be fascinating to see who ends up in it. I think a lot of people everybody's got their candidates, just like any other coaching search, and we'll see what happens. I'm curious, after watching last night's game, whether Miami may again have a coaching search, which I would suggest that they not, because if you keep doing this over and over again, it's not going to go well. But, here they are again, 2 and 3, and found a way to lose that game. Virginia, I don't think it's very good at all, but they found a way to lose.
No, it's fascinating because if Mario Cristobal at all through channels indicates that he's interested, then you're setting up an epic battle because you're talking about Phil Knight versus whatever it would take to change coaches at Miami, tens of millions of dollars for the buyout, to get a new staff in there. Because I'm told that's the job that he would leave for, that he loves. He's a Miami guy, won 2 championships there. His mother is still there in her 80s.
It's not a better job though, right?
No.
If you have no connection to it, it's not a better job. Yeah,
it's not a better job. But look, coaches have taken jobs based on their heartstrings, and that's what this would be. This is his alma mater, and I would suspect that whatever Phil Knight had to do to make it right, he would, and Mario would stay. But I think it would be fascinating, if and when, there's a change there with Manny, that it would almost compel him to have to say something right away. And if he doesn't say, I'm completely happy at Oregon and I'm staying, then that sets in motion, a bunch of things over these next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's talk a little bit about the game, some of the other games this weekend. I mean, to me, I want to see Arkansas, Georgia. I want to see Ole Miss, Alabama. I don't think either one of them's got any chance, though.
I don't think so. I looked it up. I had our research department look at this. 2 top 10 teams where one was 18.5 point favorite over the other. How often does that happen?
That's true.
And
yeah.
since 95, it's happened six times. This is the 6th time.
Really?
The 5 previous times, the higher ranked team was the team that was favored and won each time. And I think they covered each time. I'm trying to remember, maybe not. But, the prospects don't look good for Arkansas tomorrow. I will say this, because of Barry Odom and that 30 stack defense, which has been so effective, I think they have a chance with the number, and quarterback instability at Georgia. JT Daniels hurt again. Is he going to play? Can Stennett, come through? If he doesn't, I think Georgia's going to win the game because their defense is so stifling. But I think there's a chance there that there's some value in the betting, our friends in the desert, that the 18.5 could be glitzy. But again,
like
historically, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at we're talking about Nebraska over Kansas in 1995. That's as far back as they went. And I take that back. They did not cover. That was that was right when Kansas was getting good under Glenn Mason. And that was a 30-23 game where Kansas had a pass intercepted in the end zone that would have beaten Nebraska or tied the game. But my point is the favorite has won each time in those previous 5.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, because I guess because it's still early in the season, you're seeing spreads that seem way out of whack, but for the most part, a lot of them have lived up to it. One of them is Florida, being an 8-point favorite over Kentucky on the road, where Florida traditionally doesn't play well, but always wins.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like the last 2 times they went up there, they played awful and somehow found a way to win.
Yeah, the track record of those close games lately is amazing, the way they've won. And you just wonder when Kentucky's going to break through, or if they're going to break through. That Chris Rodriguez, it's kind of a run-based offense, and they do it really well. But I think Florida does that as well too, with Emory Jones coming off 2 consecutive career highs in passing. Everybody wants to talk about his grasp of the offense and running. He's gotten it a little bit against Alabama. Very modest, 181. That was a career high. And then last week he surpassed that with over 200 yards. Mm-hmm. But I think Florida has better players defensively than Kentucky. I'm not sure about that. That should carry them through. But if Kentucky does win the game, then that kind of changes everything in the SEC East. I'm not saying Kentucky's going to win the East, but right now we're looking for who's the 3rd best team in the East, and whether Kentucky wins or loses tomorrow, that's not going to decide things. Kentucky's going to be pretty good, even if they do lose tomorrow. So yeah, that's one of the ones I've got my eye on. Is Anthony Richardson going to play? You're the insider.
Supposedly, yeah. I mean, but I thought he was going to play last week, but they said it was 100%. But when the Mullen quote was, when it's 100% with a hamstring, give it another week. And and there was part of it too that was kind of, and this is really sad, because I was on with a Lexington, Tom Leach. You know Tom Leach.
Yep.
I was on his radio show today, and I was saying, the sad thing is Florida basically, and this is what they've said, we rested Anthony Richardson because it was just Tennessee. We had to get him ready for Kentucky.
How about that?
Think about where that program is when you get to that point. We didn't want to waste him on Tennessee.
Absolutely. And by the way, Tennessee, Missouri tomorrow has a make or break game for both those coaches this year. I'm just saying, Heupel in his first year and Drinkwitz in his second year with a really awful defense, second worst in the country. So I think that could go either way, and whoever wins will get a little bit of a reprieve. But Missouri's been underwhelming. I think they got worked earlier in the season, and they really need to win this Tennessee game. There's some time for Josh Heupel.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know maybe you're research people. I didn't know you had research people. I don't have them. I had to look.
We do. Yeah.
I had to find out.
Cool.
I'm sure you like that little nugget that Florida and Kentucky have only played as ranked teams 3 times.
I hadn't seen that. I like that one. I like that. Yeah.
But I don't know that I've ever seen an undefeated team as an underdog going to play a 1-2 team as we had with Michigan and Wisconsin. I think a little bit of it is just people just can't believe that Harbaugh might have a good team.
Yeah, and it's so weird because I don't get that either. I think Michigan's going to win, and I think it might be pretty handily because if history has anything to do with it, Michigan's the only team in the country that has yet to commit a turnover. I think Graham Mertz, Wisconsin quarterback on his own, has committed 8.
Yeah,
6 interceptions and 2 fumbles.
That's why he's a walking turnover.
And it's not like, at least we know what Michigan is. They are your grandfather's Bo Schembechler, Michigan. They're going to run the ball, play defense, and punt. And they've been pretty solid at all 3 things so far. I don't know what Wisconsin means. They've got the highest ranked quarterback they've ever had who's not panning out, and they want to run the ball.
Yeah.
And they're not doing it well. They led Notre Dame into the fourth quarter, and then the whole thing collapsed. So that would be one I'd stay away from. 2 points with an undefeated team as the underdog on the road. That's got a disaster written all over it if I'm a better.
I don't know when I've seen an 0-4 team as a 5-point favorite either. What FSU is this week against Syracuse. I mean Syracuse has been kind of weird all year.
Yeah.
FSU's just been bad.
Yeah. I guess there's so much weight put into home teams, I guess, and I don't know what to think of FSU. I just don't. If it's not one thing, it's the other. It used to be the offensive line. Now, you've seen bad special teams breakdown. You've seen everything. And they're not going to – I don't think they're going to – it would take something extraordinary to make a move with Mike Norvell. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it all reflects a certain amount of parity this year.
Mm-hmm.
The ACC and Clemson are out of the playoff. I think we can all understand that. If Oregon loses somewhere along the line, the Pac-12 might be out of it. Then who's in it? Well, Cincinnati maybe.
Yeah.
Obviously, a second team from the SEC could make it. If Oklahoma loses to K-State tomorrow, where does that put the Big 12? You got to put somebody in there. So I think there's a chance, again, we might see some new faces.
Last thing for you, Dennis, and we appreciate your time. The College Football Playoff Committee had their meeting, came out, didn't say anything. They're going to have another meeting. They're going to decide. I mean, where do you think this is all going to end up in terms of number of teams and how it – I mean, do you think it's going to be the very system they have announced 6 months ago? I can't remember. How was it 6 months ago? It feels like 6 months ago. Or do you think it's going to change?
Yeah, June 22nd. No, I think it will be – I think it will end up pretty much what we see now. 12 teams, top 6 conference champions, top 4 get a bye, 6 at large. Part of the uncertainty right now is we don't know how many conferences there are going to be or who's going to be in them. But I think that's going to work its way out. The Mountain West is going to stay intact for now. You're going to see some upheaval at the American and Conference USA level. But that won't really matter because the Mountain West will retain what now looks like its primacy as the best group of 5 conference going forward. So they'll automatically or almost automatically be guaranteed a spot in the playoff as proposed right now. What had to be worked out is you had 3 basically rookie commissioners.
Yeah, that's right.
Jim Phillips in the ACC, George Kliavkoff in the Pac-12, and Kevin Warren in his second year at the Big Ten. And they had to be walked through a lot of this stuff. In other words, the Rose Bowl was a big sticking point. Well, guess what? The Rose Bowl is either going to be in or it's not. You can have your parade, you can have your sunset, the San Gabriel's, but you can't have it in the playoff unless you agree to just come open. And that's the way it's pretty much been in the CFP era. So in the quarterfinals, they'll probably get a spot where they can keep the January 1st date and time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern, and then maybe make it such that a Big Ten or Pac-12 team plays in that game. And that's fine with them. That's as good as it gets for them. The 17 game thing, health and safety, welfare of the players, that's going to be worked out. The math says that the average team in a 12-team playoff is only going to play a third more games on average, because you have to understand those 8 games playing in the first round, those 8 teams, that's equivalent to a bowl game. That would be their bowl game.
Yeah,
so they're not playing any extra games. There's a big zero there. The other ones, yes, would be playing extra games. So that's going to be worked out. And wherever they play the games right now, they want to do on-campus sites in the play-in round, and then bowls in the semifinals and quarterfinals. I don't really care. As long as they have 12, it's going to be fascinating to watch. But they're going to get it done, I think, in the next 2 or 3 months, and then it'll be online by 2024.
By then, do you think Oklahoma and Texas will be in the SEC, or do you think it'll...
I do. Now I do, because I think once we get that done, you keep hearing rumblings of, okay, Texas has a war chest ready to go to buy out the Big 12. Let's just negotiate a number south of $80 million, because that's what it would cost right now just to leave. Well, Texas may have that money. Oklahoma may not. But if they get into discussions and everybody knows it's going to start in 2024, it's like a bad divorce. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I think, by the way, Pat, I think tomorrow's a key day for that. Oklahoma and Texas playing on the road in the Big 12 for the first time since that announcement has been made. And you better believe there's going to be some venom at Kansas State for Oklahoma and at TCU for Texas. Kansas State has beaten Oklahoma twice in a row. It's the best run they've had against Oklahoma since the mid-'90s and Bill Snyder. Spencer Rattler is, I don't know, someplace. He got booed. Got booed at home, a Heisman candidate at home getting booed. And then Gary Patterson's probably still mad about TCU trying to plant the flag on the field last week. So it's don't be surprised if some consumables are hurled in the way of those benches tomorrow.
There'll be some horns down, I'm sure. In the
yeah.
A little bit of that. Hey, Dennis, great talking to you, man. We always love talking to you and appreciate your time. Good luck with everything. Where are you going this week?
As I said, Kansas State tomorrow for Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Kansas State, Oklahoma. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Have fun, man. If you can have fun in Manhattan, Kansas, you'll find a way.
I can find a way, man.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Pat.
All right, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Love having him on this show. He's been on before, and we love having him as much as we can get him. My hair got messed up. All right, we've got to finally take a break 35 minutes into the show, because I just felt like since Dennis was ready to go, let's go. So we still have to get 2 breaks in. We'll take this break, and then we'll come back, and we will do all of our fun things that you guys love to talk about, including the spreads. Still looking to get a sponsor for that. By the way, Monday, Tate Casey is going to join us, of course, who will do sidelines for the game Saturday. Interesting Saturday is that Shane Matthews is doing the color because Lee McGriff has decided to step away from it, as he did when he was when his kids were playing. He stepped away from it then, and I think that's when James Jones went in there, or Scott Brantley, one or the other. Anyway, so Lee's stepping away for the rest of this year, and we'll see what happens with that. But Shane's going to be interesting. I know Evan knows that, because Shane's opinion is not afraid to give his opinion about anything. Now, I'm not saying Lee was. Lee's very honest, opinionated guy, but not like Shane. Shane's another level. And it'll be interesting to hear. It makes me want to listen to the game just to hear how he does. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Hand Law, 3 things, Adams, Ribco to go, Gators of the Weekend, all the great stuff we always do. We'll do some of that when we come back. You're watching Another Duly Noted Podcast live from the Shack Allen Mercandone Studios, presented by Titan MRI.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Ribco To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. This is Pat Dooley encouraging you to become a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest organization anywhere dedicated to Gator football. The club meets weekly during football season with an impressive list of speakers, including Bobby Stoops, Phil Fulmer, Steve Spurrier this year. Meetings are held at the Best Western Gateway Grand, and they have a special offer for you. The first 3 meetings you can attend for only $100. Believe me, this is a bargain, and trust me, you'll have a good time. Get off the bench, and it's time to score for the Gators by joining the Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back. Oh, man, I got to get a haircut, don't I, man? It's pretty bad. We are going, actually, my wife and I are going to go to St. Augustine and watch football this weekend. It'll be fun. In fact, we'll probably watch some of the early games at Salt Life. I like Salt Life. What am I tilting? This? Up. There we go. All right. So let us get to our stuff. And we still got another commercial break to get. Let's start out by doing the Adam's Ribco To Go. Adam's Ribco To Go Gator of the Week. And I was thinking about, I had a couple of choices. And then something happened last night that topped off a perfect night for me. And I'll get to some of the other things later. But it topped off a perfect night. Because I just watched, I had 2 TVs going. It was a pretty good deal. I just watched Miami lose on a field goal, chip shot field goal that hit the crossbar and bounced away. That was very sweet. I enjoyed that. And then, I got to admit, I'm not a big Jaguar fan, but I was kind of rooting for him last night. But then at the end, Who comes in to kick the field goal? Evan McPherson. I got to hope he makes it. He makes it. And he is our Gator of the Week because this is twice in, 4 weeks of the season? He's been carried off the field by his teammates. What a thrill. Sometimes you go your whole life as a kicker and never get carried off the field by your teammates. He's done it twice in his first 4 weeks. Now, he didn't miss a field goal earlier, but he made the one that mattered. Drilled it right down the middle. So Evan McPherson, I know it was only a 33-yard field goal. You know what? The guy from Miami wishes he had made a 33-yard field goal, which I think was about the same distance. He didn't make it. And so good for him. And that, to get carried out the field twice like that. So he's our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And go by Adams Ribco to Go, man. It is they're hopping in there now with all the obviously it's all to-go stuff, and I've been in there many times and may go in there on the way home today. Just get something to take on the road. So thanks to Adam for all that he does for us. We appreciate him so much. Let us get to our hand law 3 things. Hand law, of course. We all know about hand law. You guys are going to be able to repeat this with me at some point in my life. 3 things is presented by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. And, of course, they also sponsor Robbie Andrews' segment. We're going to have Robbie on, probably have him on Monday for a little to talk about the weekend that was, because this is a huge weekend. Now, it may – that's the thing I was trying to say to Dennis. Maybe I didn't get to. This could be a really seismic weekend, or it may not be anything. You know, it may be Georgia beat Arkansas 42-6, and Alabama beat the crap out of Ole Miss, and Notre Dame beat Cincinnati, and they're done. They're out of the playoffs. Oregon lose. I mean, you just never know. But we'll see. Hopefully, look, last week we didn't think we were going to have anything, and it was an unbelievable weekend. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on at this game? What's going on over at this game? And I'm trying to find games all day, and it was certainly exciting. All right, so Hand Law, 3 things. We appreciate Chris Hand and Hand Law so much for all that they do for us. And again, Monday we'll talk to Robbie about. We'll have Tay Casey and we'll have Robbie in. So you get back to having 2 guests for the price of 1. All right, number 1. So happy, so proud of my Braves. And again, I gave up on them. And I was trying to explain this to somebody, and it wasn't like I gave up on them because they were losing. I gave up on them because there was no way I thought they could win. And so I just kind of quit paying attention. After Soroka got re-injured, after Acuna got hurt, after Ozuna got in trouble with the law, and they had a bunch of other guys get hurt, and I'm like, it's just not the year for them, and poor guys, I felt bad for them. I mean, I wasn't like I was mad. I wasn't like angry, giving up, jumping off the bandwagon. I jumped back on, though. I mean, I've been a Braves fan my whole life. I don't know why I would leave them. But to go into that series with the Phillies, knowing how big a series it was, and to sweep them. I know it was in Atlanta, but they sweep them. It is so hard to listen to that tomahawk chop, though. It is. I have to listen to that when they're doing that and they're trying to win the game. But to see them celebrating, pretty impressive, pretty impressive. Now they can set up their pitching staff for the Brewers in the playoffs. And that is the other thing, though. Like, I love it that they won 4 straight divisions. I mean, all Snitker does is win divisions. 4 straight divisions, but the amazing thing to me is that, they had that incredible run, was it 14 straight years of winning their division back in the Maddox days, Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz days. And now they're on this other run with this team that they keep bringing in, like land of misfit toys. Incredible job by the general manager there, Anthopoulos, and of course Brian Snitker and all the Braves. I'm just so happy about that. So I take that, I watch that happen, and then about 20 to 30 minutes later, Miami loses on a missed field goal, and about 30 minutes later, the Jaguars lose because Evan McPherson makes a field goal. It was a really good night for me. All right, number 2. If you did not watch the Miami game, you missed the play of the year that will, and it's over. Nothing else can happen as cool as this was. This is where I wish we had video. But you guys can Google it and find it. Just Google. You don't want to. Dontavius may be hard for you to spell, but Dontavius Wicks is the guy who made the catch, and the ball is thrown up for grabs in the end zone, which was a terrible throw by the quarterback. I think it was a second down play too. Just throws it up for grabs. Miami guy goes to pick it off, bounces out of his hands, bounces all over the place. Somehow never touches the ground, and then Wicks just grabs it and goes, "Is this mine? Can I keep this?" Touchdown. And you're sitting there going, "What?" And they put it on review, and you're like, "Oh, it is a touchdown." Like, I'm watching it with the sound off because I had the sound on the other game, and I'm like, "Well, that's not going to be a touchdown." I mean, obviously the ball had to have hit the ground there. And then all of a sudden, I watch it and I go, "That is a touchdown." I don't know. It may have been one of the coolest plays ever. I'm not saying it was a great play, but cool plays. And it is the play of the year, even though it won't have much effect on anything because, to be honest with you, neither one of those teams is very good. Be curious to see what Miami does. And I don't know, like I said earlier, you can't just keep firing coaches. All right? They've made a series of mediocre to bad hires. Mark Richt seemed to be a hire that made some sense, but he couldn't get him over the hump. And then I don't know whether – I'm curious whether the fact that he maybe wasn't feeling good is why he stepped down when he did. And, of course, has Parkinson's now, has announced that. So, anyway, I'm getting off on a wild tangent here. Okay, so that was the Miami thing, and it was – I don't know if, again, they didn't have De'Aaron King last night. The other quarterback, Van Dyke, not Dick Van Dyke. I don't know his first name. Andy Van Dyke? No. Played pretty well, but early he was terrible. He looked like a guy who was getting his second start, I think, of his career. Anyway, all right. Let's get to number 3 on hand loss 3 things, and that is volleyball, because volleyball has been struggling. They're 8-5 right now, and but they got a big win because anytime you beat Georgia, it's a big win. And they beat Georgia on Wednesday in 3 sets, so that's cool. And maybe they can get that. This is a better team than what they're doing. That 3-game losing streak, I think we were all like, what? And then, okay, let's go. And then they lose to Mississippi State, which they had won 52 in a row against them, and they lost. They were 52-0. That's a lot of wins in a row. So the good news, if you want to go and check out the Gators volleyball team on Saturday, they play at 3. So you go there. So it gets over. They're playing Ole Miss. And then you can go watch the Gator game, wherever you're going to watch the Gator game. And they play again Sunday at 1 against Ole Miss. So good luck to them in their endeavors as they go forward in the season. It has been weird, kind of a weird season. All right, we have to take a break. We have to take our other break here. We'll be back with our games of the week, the spreads, and the Leonardos at Millhopper, quick picks. All that and more coming your way here on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, live from the Shack Allen Mercandani Studios.
Car accidents, trucking accidents, motorcycle accidents, and wrongful death. If injured or killed by the negligence of others, who will fight for the compensation you deserve? Shakow and Mercadante, 5 lawyers, more than 100 years of combined legal experience, millions in settlements and verdicts. Call Shakow and Mercadante, 371-3000. Rebuilding lives. Car accidents.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you,
Another Duly Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. This is Pat Dooley encouraging you to become a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest organization anywhere dedicated to Gator football. The club meets weekly during football season with an impressive list of speakers, including Bobby Stoops, Phil Fulmer, Steve Spurrier this year. Meetings are held at the Best Western Gateway Grand, and they have a special offer for you. The first 3 meetings you can attend for only $100. Believe me, this is a bargain, and trust me, you'll have a good time. Get off the bench, and it's time to score for the Gators by joining the Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Duly Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back. Appreciate everybody for clicking on and watching. And thanks so much to Dennis Dodd, who was our guest earlier. If you weren't able to watch it, you can go listen to it on any of the 39 platforms that we have. What do you call it? Apple Podcasts. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm blanking on what. I don't have my sheet. That's okay. But everybody, of course, watch. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Facebook and YouTube, you all know that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the 39 platforms. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. We'll take your questions or comments on Facebook Live. And I will tell you, the numbers are really good. I'm just happy about that. I'm not going to comment on the numbers, but I'm just happy that we're doing really well. We do need a couple more sponsors, and hopefully we get those soon. And that would be great. I mean, we're in football season, man. This is when you get things going, and I know this is week 5 for the Florida Gators. All right, it is time to talk about the games of the week, sponsored by Hesser & Kipke. Hesser & Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in workers' comp and family law. We appreciate them for being on board, and we get some great games of the week, and then we'll get to the spreads. In the SEC, my game of the week is Ole Miss, Alabama. I mean, you could say Florida, Kentucky, but this is an undefeated Ole Miss team. And Alabama, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they are the old Alabama or this new Alabama that makes teams think they have a chance. I don't know that they do. I mean, maybe Florida's that good. So that to me, though, is the SEC game of the week. The national game of the week is Cincinnati and Notre Dame because of exactly what Dennis was talking about. Cincinnati wins this game, and their schedule's tough enough, and they win out, they'll be in. And that could be where they bump out, as he was saying, the ACC, which is in shaky situation right now. Could be that they bump out the Pac-12, which has got to count on Oregon. to win. So we'll see. And then the under the radar game, I put it as Louisville at Wake Forest. Wake Forest still undefeated. It's like they're doing it with mirrors, but I watched them play, and I still don't know how they're doing it. And Louisville's a team that's kind of like weird. They're good sometimes, they're bad sometimes, but isn't that everybody? So it'll be interesting to watch that play out. Let's talk about spreads, which is a segment we want to get sponsored. So if you want to get involved in sponsoring, let's talk about spreads. We'll do that. We'll even maybe we'll do a song for you, like right up there with my Emery and Anthony. That wasn't good though. All right, Florida 8-point. I'm going with the Caesar spreads this morning. Okay, Florida is an 8-point favorite over Kentucky, which of course it hadn't really moved a lot. It's been around 8, 9.5. I think was the highest it got. As close as the games have been the last 2 years, or last 2 times Florida's gone up there, I would certainly not take Florida and give the 8. And I think this is going to be a tough game for Florida. There are a lot of people that really kind of know this team who are telling me, Pat, you're worried for nothing. You're worried about nothing. But I'm a worrier. I do that. I worry all the time. I'm worried right now. All right, so Auburn, 3-point favorite at LSU. Did I write that down right? Is that even possible? That's going to be interesting. I guess I wrote it down correctly. LSU, it's weird. Is another one of those weird teams. You don't know what you're going to get from them. Michigan, that we mentioned earlier, is a 1.5 point underdog at Wisconsin, which is 1-2. Now Wisconsin plays great defense, but they just haven't been able to, figure out the quarterback situation. Well, they figured it out. They keep trying to shove this guy down everybody's throats. And all he does is throw picks. So that'll be interesting. Mississippi State's getting 7.5 at Texas A&M. Texas A&M better win this game. I think they have Alabama next week. And if they lose this game, that game's going to lose. It's already lost a lot of its luster. I mentioned earlier Syracuse, a 5-point underdog at FSU, even though FSU has not won a game. Cincinnati with a 1.5 point at Notre Dame, and then Ole Miss. The latest odds I got were 14.5 they're getting against Alabama. Arkansas is getting 15.5 against Georgia. So the money has come in on those big, huge underdogs, even though, as Dennis was saying, you rarely see 2 underdogs that big. And then Tennessee, 2.5 point favorite over Missouri. That's at Missouri too. I don't get that. Maybe that's my lock of the week. Let me just say that's my lock of the week because I had 3 straight locks of the week. None of them came in, so I'll say this is the lock of the week. Take Tennessee, or take Missouri, sorry. Giving only 2.5 points up to Tennessee. There's your lock of the week. All right, it is time finally to get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We always love our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. And I got too busy this week. I got to get by there next week and make sure I handle that. But by the way, all hail Cincinnati for those of you who were in the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks because everybody picked the Jaguars. One person picked Cincinnati. One person picked the Jaguars, and it looked like she was going to be the only one that was right. But Brian and Keith and Alex and Charlie and Eric and Todd and Scott and Steven and Randy and Bill and Matt, and I could go on forever. All you guys qualify, you're qualifiers, so we got a ton of qualifiers. And the qualifiers for this week, pretty simple. Rushing yards, who has more, Kentucky or Florida? And that probably could tell you who's going to win the game, Kentucky or Florida. And then the over-under is 55. I would bet the over, but you have a choice. You can go over or under. So those are the 2 things. I'll put them up on Facebook and YouTube hopefully soon. Got some things to do, though we'll get that up. And appreciate everybody for watching. Appreciate everybody for listening. And thanks so much to Dennis Dodd for coming on. Again, Robbie will join us for a little while on Monday. Also, Tate Casey's going to join us. Thanks so much to Evan for doing a bang-up job, as always, as my producer. And we'll just go ahead and get the heck out of here and go watch football Saturday. Enjoy it. This is a day to really watch the games. You can get away with watching a lot of football this Saturday, okay? And we'll be back on Monday. Until then, I'm Pat Dooley. I'm deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.